Okay. Hello, yes. Thank you everyone for waiting. We can now begin our panel, Parenthood and Music. So if I could invite the panelists to come up, please. And hello out there to people watching online. Good morning, thanks for waiting. We're missing one person. Could anyone look for Ola? Okay, while we're waiting, so thank you everyone for being here. It's great to have everyone here for this really, I find, important panel that is affecting a lot of people's lives in the music business, whether they're musicians or in the industry side, but probably not spoken about enough. More and more, thankfully, but it's still a topic that I think needs a lot more awareness, and that's the point of this panel today, is to hopefully raise awareness. Our final panelist is here. Thank you. To share stories, anecdotes, and funny things that have happened in your lives or things you've seen are also very welcome. This is a mix of personal and professional. I also want to say it is a vulnerable topic, so it's a little cliche, but I will use the word safe space. Any questions, comments, impulses that come in, I ask to be respectful and to think about the vulnerability of this topic. So I'll go and introduce my panel. And I'll start with Marit. Marit Posch is the general manager of Idol in Germany and independent digital distributor based in Paris with offices in London, Berlin, LA, Nashville, and Johannesburg. The co-founder of both Hyperculture and Parenthood and Music. Just to explain, this is not an actual panel from Parenthood and Music. It's a little confusing, but we will get a lot of input from Parenthood and Music. This is actually presented by Mavem, and we'll get to that in just a second. Next, we have Violetta Parisini. She is Vienna-based. She started her musical career during her studies in philosophy and as a singing DJ, a techno DJ, and went on to become a songwriter. In 2010 and 2012, she released 2 albums with English songs on Universal Music. Between 2012 and 2020, she had 2 children. She curated the Pop Fest Vienna, and she participated in different art projects. Recently in 2020, she released Alles bleibt on her label together with Success Prize, and followed by that, she released Unter Menschen in 2022. In the farthest corner, we have Jan Klausen. He is the partner and co-chief at Factory 92, a Hamburg-based agency which offers PR, marketing, consulting, and management services, targeting the international music factory. Factory 92 sees itself as mainly a European company, working with various festivals and also labels, as well as Austrian Music Export, for full disclosure. We also have Ole Feltes, who started his career in the music industry as a singer of Fire in the Attack in 2003. He's been around in the entertainment industry for almost 20 years now. And after working for companies like EMI Music and Eventbrite in 2020, Ticketmaster asked him to take over the business development teams for Central Europe. He lives together with his 5-year-old son, and we'll get to more of all that. Just a quick thing about me. My name is Ariana, and I work for Mika and Austrian Music Export. I'm not actually from Austria, but I'm based in Austria. I'm from New York, and I think that will play a role in also what I'll talk about today, about the differences in the way that children and music and these topics are dealt with in the various continents and countries. And I also have a small child who's 3.5 years old. Quick survey to the audience, if I may, only if you feel comfortable sharing. How many people here work in the music industry? Okay, and how many people here are parents? Okay, great, thank you. It's good to know who our audience is, because this should be a discussion. At the end, there will be room for questions, so feel free to jump in. Okay. So as I mentioned, this is a panel that's presented by Mewem, and it's a mentoring program for women and Flinte entrepreneurs in the music industry. We do have a representative from that organization here. That's Regina Fish. She's in the back. If anyone wants to find out more about that, I welcome you to speak to her, Mika is the Austrian partner in this European project. There will be a discussion later today at 3 p.m. that she'll be part of, where she represents MEVEM, and that is Networks for Flinte at 3 p.m. here as well. So please come to that. Okay, so hardest job in the world. I'm going to play a video that I saw a few months ago, and when I was preparing for this, I thought, this is kind of fitting to more than just what it's about. So I'm going to play that for you, if it works. Hopefully that works. I have a window that comes up on my screen, but not on the main screen. Can you help me with that? Okay, 1 second. Okay.
Just give me 1 second, thank
Sure.
you, sorry. Hey, hi. 2 minutes, thank you. Hi, good afternoon, sorry about that.
Oi. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Have you ever done one of these interviews over the camera before?
No.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about the job to get started with. It's not just a job, it's sort of probably the most important job. The title that we have going right now is Director of Operations, but it's really kind of so much more than that. Responsibilities and requirements are really quite extensive. First category for the requirements would be mobility. This job requires that you must be able to work standing up most or really all of the time, constantly on your feet, constantly bending over, constantly exerting yourself, a high level of stamina. Okay.
That's a lot. For how many hours?
135 hours to unlimited hours a week. It's basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I'm sure you'll have a chance from time to time to maybe just sit down here and there, yeah?
You mean like a break?
Yeah.
No, there are no breaks available.
Is that even legal?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like no lunch?
You can have
or-
lunch, but only when the associate is done eating their lunch.
I think that's a little intense.
No.
No, not possible.
That's crazy.
Now, this position requires excellent negotiation and interpersonal skill. We're really looking for someone that might have a degree in medicine, in finance, and the culinary arts. You must be able to wear several hats. Associate needs constant attention. Sometimes they have to stay up with an associate throughout the night. Being able to work in a chaotic environment, if you had a life, we'd ask you to sort of give that life up. No vacations. In fact, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and holidays, the workload is going to go up, and we demand that with a happy disposition.
That's almost cruel. That's almost a very, very sick, twisted joke.
Worry about when there's time to sleep or...
Oh, no time to sleep.
Yeah, all-encompassing almost.
That's exactly right.
365 days a year?
Yes.
No, that's inhumane.
That's very insane.
The meaningful connections that you make and the feeling that you get from really helping your associate are immeasurable. Also, let's cover the salary. The position is going to pay absolutely nothing.
Excuse me?
No. Nobody's doing that for free.
Yeah, pro bono, completely for free.
No.
What if I told you there's someone that actually currently holds this position right now? Billions of people, actually.
Who?
Moms.
Okay, it gets a little mushy here. I don't need to do the mush. So this was a video that I discovered around Mother's Day, and I remember finding it very funny and also very sad. I think I might have dropped a tear when I realized what I was doing. But when I watched it again, I thought, wow, but there's quite a few overlaps with the music business as well. Wearing many hats, having sort of an extreme amount of availability, not a lot of boundaries between your work and your actual life. I wanted to now turn to the panel and say, so what is it like combining this all-encompassing job, as they said, with your other all-encompassing job, which is being a parent? So. I would like to first turn to Violetta as the musician that's on this panel, and to start with you. What are your experiences? How has your life changed since you're a parent, and anything you want to share about this combination?
Okay, so when I was pregnant with my first child, I sort of thought it's gonna be easy. I'm just gonna do the same things with the child. And then I had a child, and then it turned out it's not at all like that. But with the first child, I toured, and I had my husband with me with the baby in the backseat room. We're both musicians, so it's not advisable financially, but it's very practical when you're on tour because he could like make time to come. And yeah, and then I had the second child, and then I made a break because it wasn't possible anymore. I had the feeling that all I have to give, I'm giving to my children, and I had like a very memorable moment at a concert when my second child was 3 months old, and I had the feeling I have nothing to give anymore. And then I sort of canceled everything and stopped playing for 2 years, which was hard, but it was also, I think, the best decision I could have made at the moment. And career-wise, that was pretty stupid. And I think it was, like musically and artistically, it was very good because I sort of had the space to reinvent my what I do, and I did. Yeah, and I also have to say that I'm very privileged because I inherited money at that point, and I couldn't have done it if I hadn't had that money. So I actually spent that on living, and of course, I have a man at my side, which is also a privilege and not always the case, who also takes now about 50% of all the care time. Yeah, I think that talking about privilege is very important because I sort of managed to put out a third album on my own label, but I wouldn't have done that in that time, and it took me 8 years. But still, I couldn't have done that in that time if I hadn't had the money to get me over 2 years of my life.
It's a really important point. We've been doing a series at Mika and Austrian Music Export where we interview artists about this combination, this intersection of parenthood and being a musician. Violetta was one of the first that we spoke to. But we did find a pattern in all of the interviews that it was almost always relying on family help. And what I had to ask myself was, well, what about people that come from another place? So if you want to talk about intersectionality, I can honestly say that I have friends who are musicians in Austria that they've decided against children because they don't have that help. And so I've made a list also that you've already started to touch on, which maybe you could just take a look at everyone as sort of impulses for what we can talk about. Certainly financial challenges are a huge issue in Austria if you're not from Austria. I don't know what it's like in Germany, so half of our panel is from Germany. In the States, I can speak to the same, that you need people to come in and help you. Otherwise, you sacrifice all of your time with your child just trying to make the money for childcare. I'll read this list just really quickly as impulses for our discussion. There's the work-life balance, the financial challenges, energy challenges, as in how much energy can you put out, time constraints, scheduling, creative versus practical life. By that I mean, I'll also give full disclosure, my partner is a musician, and we often fight about time and the kind of time that we both need. So I have a job, I have fixed hours, more or less, but his job goes endless. And so an argument that will often occur between us is simply, well, I need my creative time, and that's a whole day. And I'll say, well, no, you have to be home by 5 p.m. because I need your help then. So I think this creative versus the practical side is a really important one. Conditions for workers, which are just not set out when it comes to parenthood. I don't think there's really much going on there in terms of policy level. Childcare services, hierarchies in society. What role does a parent, or specifically a mother, if we speak about gender, what role do they have in the hierarchies of our society? Nightlife, how is that even possible if you're a parent, and how important is that for your role as a musician? And so on and so forth. Ageism, family structures, gender roles, gender gaps, burnouts, and image. And the image one, I'll also just mention that, Violetta, you brought me to that idea about this ageism, this youth mania, and what kind of image, and how much do you expose your parenthood as a musician or not? How much do you hide it and how much do you expose it? Maybe I'll just pass this along. If anyone wants to jump in and speak about their experiences working in the music industry or working on the advocacy organizational side and being a parent. Ola, would you like to say something?
Sure. I've like two totally different experiences. As like in 2017, when my beloved firstborn was born, actually, I was still together with his mother. And I was still working for a U.S. company that was like they're bragging. They used to brag a lot about like all the family-friendly environment, and this was kind of this New Work, Silicon Valley, New Work style company. And so when I talked to my boss back then, and like, so okay, my girlfriend is pregnant, and we're gonna have a kid, and so and I'm going to like take the 3 months off that the company is offering. She was like, great, really 3 months? So, but what about her? Is she taking time off as well? And like, yeah, sure, we both want to have like the first couple of months together. And like, yeah, we do offer that, but it's, well, that's unfortunate that you've gone so long. And I'm like, okay, great. So this gave me like, not the best feeling in the world. Next situation was like, yeah, it's not like, well, not yet 2 years ago, but like when I broke up with with the mother of my kid, and that was like overnight in a situation where like, okay, I need to rearrange everything. I need to like rearrange how I see my job, and of course I need to make sure that to somehow being able to cover at least 50% of the time. That was like what I wanted to do. And then working for my like current employer, it was, and especially speaking to my now like direct manager, it was like, okay, that's crazy. So what do you need first? You want to have like 2 weeks off or something to get everything sorted, and then you come back to me, and then we make a plan how you, because the funny thing was like the whole thing was like 2 days old at that moment, and he asked me to come to his office, and he wanted to initially like, asking me if I could take more responsibility within the company. Like, yeah, love to, but I have some different issue here to tackle first. And then like I needed to come up with that story, which was like, or like with to tell him the truth and what's like my new reality was. And he was like super supporting and just like, hey, we're gonna make that happen. And first of all, you get your stuff cleared at home, and then we make a plan how we develop you and your career within Ticketmaster. So this like two totally different experiences.
Why do you think that was? Was this just a cultural experience, a cultural difference, or do you think it was really also the amount of money that the company had, the resources?
I don't think it's a cultural difference, as both are like, Ticketmaster is also like a US company, so it's more of it's depending how actually companies live, what they say, plus it's always dependent from your direct manager, your direct line manager, if he's like, if he understands the situation and if he's like willing to go away from this like 9 to 7 or 9 to 8 model in the music industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a discussion I just had with Jan before, because you're the director of your company, actually. Can you talk a little bit about your experience as a parent?
Yeah, for us it was completely different. So we have 2 kids in the company. So my kid is actually becoming a teenager, so that's a totally different story as well. And the other kid is now 6, but for us it was always just totally normal, just being flexible, to support each other, and also like having day off, and even like during Corona, so we always trying, like we're kind of a small company, only 6 people, so that makes things much more easier. So, but we're always trying to being flexible also for our employees, just having like a laptop and a computer in work, working on the cloud, working whatever you want. So it's not only about having kids, also like mental health or being like having appointments during the day and stuff like this. So it's kind of flexible how you can work and when you have work. Also, we just have to work in waves. If you have a festival or something like this, so that we do a lot of work up front, and afterwards you have more time to take off and stuff like this. And for us, it was like, because when I was asked, being at the panel, I was thinking, okay, did we ever have problems, or just for us was just no? It was always easy if we have to take time off with the kids. So for sure, it's normal. We're always finding solution. Also, like during Corona, I remember that the kindergarten was off, so my business partner couldn't work because at this time his kid was 4, so it was impossible to work and having kid. And then, of course, we just in the morning check, okay, how can I support you? What can we do? And then during the day, okay, sometimes we just have to call and say, hey, how can we do that and that? So, but it was always like, yeah, kind of easy going for us. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear these good examples. We were just saying before, we don't want this all to just be doom and gloom. We want, and also anyone listening out there in the virtual worlds, if you're thinking of having kids and you're in the music business, we don't want to now discourage you, so that's not the point of this at all. However, we talked previously, I think it's also, there's luck in your situation in that the two people at the top of your business are the ones that have kids.
Yeah.
Whereas and the ones below actually don't. And so if it was the other way around, there might be a different scenario.
I don't know. So it's of course we would miss every person in the company if they would take 2 or 3 months off, same when they have holidays, because they're good and we good in the job. So, but it's like totally normal, just supporting each other when you have kids and like taking off, and even like if there's another thing is like if there's some mental problems or some personal problems, we do the same, or we did the same. Okay, you have a private problem, take a week off or whatever you need. So how can we support you? Because I think I think that's important, just supporting your team. And if your team is just healthy and good and happy, so then you will have a good team.
I totally agree, and just to be clear about what I meant by that, I think what I meant rather is that if the people at the top didn't have the experience of having children, they might not have the empathy or understanding what would be needed. And I think that's also so important that companies, organizations, bands, who might not have experience with kids, but suddenly they get an employee or a band member that has a child, I think it's important to raise awareness on this. I've witnessed it firsthand, again, where my partner would be in a band where no one else has kids, and the understanding for his issues was almost none. And I understand that as well, because before I had a child, I might not have understood either. So I think that's an issue of awareness. Marit, can I turn to you now? Can you talk a little bit about what you know, what you feel, and any ideas you want to bring in also about solutions or impulses that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I was privileged as well. My kids are 12 and 14, so I had them pretty close together, which, yeah, is hard. But back then I was working for a label I started together with friends, and we all had kids at the same time, so that really helped. And it's really about empathy and understanding. I think this is like the first thing that needs to be done, and it's actually pretty easy, because when you start talking to people, then people usually understand the struggles, because they might have the same issues with another thing, like they might have dogs. I mean, dogs and kids are kind of the same issues, right? Like if you talk to someone with a dog, it's always the same, like, yeah, who's babysitting and money, or like taking care of parents or like relatives, or just like a hobby you're really into. So it's always about just sharing your experiences and trying to find empathy, and it works much better in small structures. So our company was the same. It's like 6 people or 7. But in big companies, I think it's much more difficult. And then it's also a political level, because you need healthcare and childcare, and you need the environment. You need a support system, really. You need your family. I mean, I'm from Berlin. In Berlin, childcare is great. My kids went to kindergarten when they were 10 months old, and I work like full time. My family is there, but without that, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And it's not like, even in the western part of Germany, it's totally different. Like there is no childcare before the age of 3. So, and also like the pay gap, it's like 19% in general for Germany between men and women. In the music industry, it's 25. So of course, if you have a partner who earns more, of course, you are the one staying home, because it doesn't make sense financially for you to stay home, for you to work and the partner staying home. So those things, I think, need to be talked about on a higher political level as well, plus then on a lower level within the company structures and the industry, and like those questions, yeah, what do you do with your kids, where are they? Being asked that as a woman, whereas my male colleagues never asked that question, although everyone knew they had kids as well. So it's what we talked about earlier, that it's like this deeply ingrained role model system that's still there in the heads.
Totally. Just to bring everyone else in on this, just a small anecdote from my side is that I was at a performance recently with a very close friend who has 2 small children, and I almost asked, I didn't, I stopped myself, but I really almost asked, oh, who's taking care of the kids? And if I had seen her partner, Valentin, I don't think I would have asked that. So it was also a moment of recognition how deeply ingrained these things are in me as well, and that it's hard to get out of them, but it just takes talking about it and practicing, I think. We'll get back to maybe more of the solutions like that, for example, Parenthood and Music is working on and thinking about. I'm going to bring it back quickly to Violetta as the artist at the group, who has made, it seems, a very conscious decision to show your motherhood in your art, as opposed to many people that have tried to hide it, understandably as well. There's no judgment because it's a hard market, but you've taken sort of an activist role in this. And if it's okay, I'm just going to show the video from you. We get to hear some music from our artists present. One second.
Die Sonne ist längst untergegangen, die Dunkelheit fällt über uns her. Ich habe die Frage, die sich stellt, nicht verstanden. Mein Kopf ist so voll und gleichzeitig ganz leer. Was undenkbar war, ist jetzt Möglichkeit, keine Ahnung, was das heißt. Ich bin noch nicht so weit. Ich bin noch nicht so weit. Ich will noch nicht schlafen. Ich muss das noch klären. Ich bin noch nicht so weit. Ich bin noch nicht so weit. Oder vergessen, wenn das nur einfacher wäre. Und alles fließt, wenn du es nicht festhältst. Doch wenn du es festhältst, fließt es nicht. Die Welt um dich ist wie ein Spiegel. Sie zeigt dir dein eigenes Gesicht. Was undenkbar war, ist jetzt Möglichkeit, keine Ahnung, was das heißt. Ich bin noch nicht so weit. Ich bin noch nicht so weit. Ich will noch nicht schlafen. Ich muss das noch klären. Ich bin noch nicht so weit. Ich bin noch nicht so weit.
Let's hear some other music from Violetta Parisini.
Violetta playlist.
Thanks for broadcasting.
Sure. Violetta, could you talk a little bit about this video and what brought you to making it?
Yeah, so obviously being a mother and having trying to have a musical career is something that beschäftigt mich.
Something I deal with,
something that's on my mind a lot. So when I thought about music videos, I thought that I was talking to friends and we had that idea that what actually, this is just a marketing point of view, but what is not always a disadvantage but also an advantage is that I'm a mother and that that I decided to show that to the world because I think it's so important to show like the whole picture of an artist. And I totally understand artists who put on personas and roles. I can totally relate to that, but I'm just not that kind of artist. And I started writing a blog 2020, and I wrote a lot about parenthood and music and parenthood and depression and stuff like that. And I had a lot of people writing me emails about it, and I realized that it's really important to sort of go out with that and say, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm not some far out, untouchable artist, but I'm a human being and I have struggles, and this is what I'm struggling with, and it's not very romantic and it's not very fancy, it's just basic life. So for me, that's something that I also like about other artists, but this is of course a question of style or a decision, but for me it was the right decision, yeah.
I think it's super brave and super beautiful, and it is rare to see this blend of such open, honest things. Sometimes you'll see something from, I don't know, I'm thinking of like Jay-Z and Beyonce, and maybe they'll include their kids, but it's a little bit more idolized, I would say.
Yeah.
But we do happen to have 3 industry people here right now. Are you seeing any changes in the industry, that people are doing things more like Violetta? Do you feel that there's more place for it? What's the impact? Anybody?
I mean, I think the topic, especially the bigger companies, they have to deal with it because skilled labor is like, everyone needs people, and they are looking desperately for people to work at the companies, especially at the live industry, and I think a lot of companies realize that they have to deal with those issues. And so I think there are more and more initiatives within companies that at least, they have empathy and they say, okay, we don't have meetings after 4 p.m., for instance, or like Initiative Musik, it's like a German funding thing. They now have support for parents, so you get extra money within your stipend if you are a parent, which is great, which hasn't been there before. Things like that, or like festivals that now they ask artists, do you have kids, do we have to bring your family, then we need to book a bigger room, like a family suite or something, or like take care of childcare, or at least have a room for breastfeeding or stuff like that. And I think those things, the more you talk about it, I think the more people are aware, but you have to really ask for it. And this is something where maybe artists should be more proactive as well and just say, I'm a parent, I need to bring my family. If you want to book me, you gotta support. So, and I know that for up and coming newcomer artists, it's hard because they are not in the position really to ask for that. But I think the more people ask, the more, they will know. Even if they say no, we don't have the budget, then at least it's on their radar and they know.
I have to say something quickly. Yes, I totally agree, but I also have to say I don't have the feeling that I'm in a position to ask that. There are some people who desperately want to book me, and I can ask it, but a lot of bookings are I'm just glad I have
But you can just put it on your radar.
So I do it anyway.
It's like, they do it or they don't. But they know.
I know, yes. And most people who book me are aware of my motherhood because I'm broadcasting it, obviously. But what really needs to be said is that the problem is so much bigger than the music industry, and I think that I'm talking about mothers because I have the feeling that the problems still are mostly on the side of the females, or the people who actually have the children. I think we should find some way to give scholarships away to, in the first 3 years, for artists who are also mothers, or there should, of course, be something like the bedingungsloses Grundeinkommen, unconditional income, yeah, like some kind of way to make people who have children, make it possible for them to actually take a break and think about how it's going to work out, like the next years. And this is a question of money, and this money should come, in my opinion, from the state, because we are actually raising the next generation, so this is pretty important.
And this is a general debate, again, a cultural debate, because, again, disclosure about myself, I moved, okay. I think we're gonna go a little over time because we started late, so that's good. Thank you. I decided to move back to Austria when I was pregnant in New York because the conditions were 2 months maternity leave and no time off before the birth. And I looked at my options, and Austria had a much better deal. And at the same time, I was exposed to these cultural conflicts and differences that my friends in New York were like, but you're gonna stay home for a year? You're gonna lose your career. You're gonna be out of the market. What's gonna happen to you? And that's a reality. So I agree that there needs to be more set up, more policy, creative ideas to deal with all of these nuances of what could also be offered. So I also agree something that would be an automatic funding for the main parents would be great, because really, who has the time and energy when you have an infant to do all that bureaucracy? That's another thing.
Yeah.
To think about what you need to ask for, how you need to get it.
Yeah.
Add on the intersectionality of being a foreigner and not understanding everything. So there's all these aspects that, again, adding on exhaustion and maybe a child that doesn't sleep and all these things, you're just kind of in a lose-lose situation. Anyone want to say anything else? I've also put up a slide that's the gender gap and intersectionality. We haven't talked about COVID. We don't need to, but there is a reality that there has been something called a she session that's happened since COVID, that mostly women have been really the ones that have taken the biggest losses, and I think in the music industry that's really prominent. The societal pressures that we face, the financial discrepancies, sexism, ageism, lookism, there's a lot to talk about. So would anyone like to jump in about any of these topics?
Actually, I wanted to jump into the societal pressure topic, because as great as it is that Beyonce shows her belly and like beautiful babies, but it's Beyonce, so she has a shitload of money, and of course there's no problem with childcare. And of course she looks amazing a month after giving birth. And I think those are images that are good, but also dangerous, because it puts so much pressure on the women. And when I had my first kid, I actually wanted to start a blog of like, because there are all those influencers and everything's perfect, the apartment looks great, and I was like, I want to do the opposite, like really show it how it is, because that, you don't see that. I mean, that's why I loved your video, because that's the reality, right? And you never see that. And also this pressure, because I mean, now we are talking about work-life balance, you know, family, but it puts, again, so much pressure on especially women to have a career and the kids. So it's like, I think it's dangerous that it could go into the other direction, that it's even more pressure now to, I mean, the circumstances are there, so why don't you have like a proper career, like go back to full-time? Like, maybe not everyone wants that, or every man as well, you know? Like maybe you just want to work part-time for 5, 6, 7 years, who knows, you know? Maybe not, but I think the pressure should be a bit less to perform, you know? And it's not, and it's the same for like every other thing as well. So I think the pressure is really high, and it's the danger I see right now that it gets more because we talk about it so much. So I think this should always be part of the discussion, to say, if you want to, yes, go for a full career, like full stop, we have the conditions, but if we don't want to, it's fine. Like, you can take your time, do whatever. You don't have to.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to run out of time. Marit, I think we won't show your slides now. I think we'll save them for your workshop tomorrow.
We'll workshop with Steffi tomorrow from 10 to 12, where we just really go deep into the topics and show you some stats about what the actual situation is.
Yeah. So that's the reminder for tomorrow. I'll be taking part in case you want to talk to me again. But really, please come join because it's going to be amazing. I just wanted to maybe very, very quickly, we already touched a little bit on, what did you say, the initiative? You said, Initiative Musik, as an example of best practices, but can we maybe speak also to the people in more for-profit organizations? Have you seen any best practices when it comes to childcare?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think like the whole, my general feeling is that we're going in the right direction currently, as first of all, we have this huge war on talent. So companies just can't, they can't handle or do it like they did in the years before, just picking out some of them, some men who are able to work these 80 hours per month, per week. And on the other hand, we have we have these new generations coming up. They're not actively actually supporting our old top-down management, 80 hours, make a career thing at all. They have lots of other things in mind, and they're important for them. So what I currently see a lot, and it's just in the part, in a small part of the industry, as in general, the music industry is pretty old-fashioned, pretty top-down management, pretty old school when it comes to these things. But you see more and more, and especially we see that in our company, smart managers who understood, and that's exactly how I build my teams, that in building teams and how you set them up and how you check that you have the right redundancy and that you have that people covering each other are able to cover each other. In those environments, you can hire a way broader audience, or totally different people with different ideas of their life. And if and it's not just the parent. It could be also someone who's just okay, I do have a musical career without any kids, and I just want to work 20 hours. But I have two in my team who just doing part-time, but they're brilliant at their job. And if we design teams like this, that you're not dependent on each and every one is working 80 hours per week, then you have a way better team fit for each, and then you're just creating better teams.
Absolutely.
And I think this is what's currently happening out of the, not really out of the idea that this is necessary, which is sad, but out of the idea this is necessary because of I need more talent in my teams and I need a...
Which is fine, right? If we can motivate capitalistically, this is also okay. This is the reality. And I think that's important to realize that you're going to get much more out of your team and out of your band and out of whoever if people are not burning out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jan, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, for us it's also that's everything in the company. So we're not getting so much support from outside, especially if it's coming to kindergarten, which is really complicated. And it's also complicated for the kindergartens because they have two less people, tough work time, and especially during COVID, so they're still always getting COVID, and so it's really, really tough for them. But of course, if the kindergarten is closed, it changes everything. We have to be finding a solution how we deal with it, how we can support it, me and my wife and our kid, and especially my business partner, because the smaller kid. But it's for us, it's just the best thing is just talking to each other, having also if we want to have time off for different reasons and this, we have this one calendar, so that's our main thing. So everybody can say, okay, I need a day off for whatever reason, so you even have to just say why. So then it's just putting in the calendar, say, okay, nobody else is off, so I can do that, and so okay, so it's working really, really well, so I think we would be really nice about this.
It's, again, a nice lesson for understanding, and if we could all have bosses like you, that'd be great. But it's not always the case. Would anyone like to add anything? Because we're going to be rounding up soon. I've added a list of resources that I compiled. I can really recommend this checklist that's put out by the Swedish government. I learned about this at another panel that I saw on the same topic at one point. And what I find so amazing about it is that the Swedish government is actually promoting real 50-50 gender balances in, let's say, heterosexual parenting relationships, as an example, but it could be adapted to whatever your relationship is. But in this case, they really go down into the fine details, like who's organizing the secondhand clothing, who's choosing the invitation list for the birthday parties. So all of this, so to speak, unseen work that, let's be honest, generally often is taken up by the mother, at least I'll speak for my relationship. And it really promotes trying to get to some kind of 50-50 balance for the unseen work that we're doing. And I just wanted to add, we have this interview series that I mentioned on the Mika and the Austrian Music Export websites, where we are continuously interviewing musicians, and maybe also probably at some point people in the music industry and their role as parents. This is a video I won't have time to show, sorry, but the artist is present. You can check it out online. And this is the last sort of course, I knew that I would talk mostly about the struggles, and there are a lot to name, but I also just want to say we shouldn't forget there's also a beautiful give and take between the parents and the child relationship when music is part of it. This is my son, very proud at his father's opening gig at the stadium. And these are things he will never, ever forget, and I just want to mention that. It's not all bad. All those listening out there, you still can have kids if you're a musician. It's going to work out somehow. We'll open this up for just probably 5 minutes of questions. If anyone would like to ask anything. I think just maybe come up here because I don't think we have an extra. Just for the streamers, thank you.
Hello, Internet. My name is Mike Edel. I'm from Canada. My question is, it is for all of you. I was wondering, what is maybe the most practical thing you did with a kid, whether it's Jan, he takes off Fridays because he wants to get his agency started on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a good start to the week, so he takes off Fridays, or what is the most practical thing you've done that was a good decision in regards to balancing your kids and your business or art?
Should I? Yeah. So for me, the most practical thing I did was just putting a bigger focus on working internationally, actually, because international calls are if I'm sitting in Germany, my international calls are starting from 8 or something, sometimes 7, and so that gives me the ability to take time off when I pick up my son from the daycare until I put him in the bed again, and then I have then I do my meetings, and this is that was a good decision and idea to go that route.
I think first for me it's just that we're kind of flexible. I can go to the office and just really focusing on stuff where just being with my team and have no interfering from my kid, but also working at home and then doing stuff. Maybe good thing is for having AirPods in and cleaning flat and talking to people or something. Is doing two things at the same time. So it's kind of practical. But for me, it's just also getting easier because it's a teenager now. She's totally annoyed. Never loved somebody so much who think I'm so uncool. So she's really kind of she's always totally annoyed when I say, we're working with Mitski. I said, we do so. So it's changing a lot. So no, it's just being flexible and also saying okay, it's work, and maybe also explain or bring her. To the concerts. I'm really well now. She's going with me to concerts. So that's next step, hopefully.
I think that's the upside of working in the music industry, that it's flexible. So you can work from wherever, pretty much whenever, except for artists. That's a different deal because you need the creative time and you never know when it hits you, right? So I think for some artists it works that you have a slot and then you really focus and then it works, but it doesn't work for everyone. So I think this is I think that's the hardest part. But if you work in the industry, it's pretty easy if you have the flexible conditions. And for me personally, I think to raise my kids as independent human beings so that they're not dependent on, of course they're dependent, but not having to commute and get them there, pick them up. So I was really strict with those things from early on, because now I don't have to deal with it anymore for like a couple of years already, and that really helps. So that's more like a practical thing where you just show them, you know, you have your own life, you have your work, you're not there all the time, so they have to deal with things on their own.
It's same here.
Yeah.
It's also like she's using the bus to school and everything. But also like we should get also like my wife is from Russia, so with that grandma's living in Russia, so it's also like living in a virtual world and connecting with them. And so that's also something where she got their own computer. That was also one of the smartest things during COVID. So we had some more computers in the company, so I brought her the iMac we had, and then she had online school, and of course the camera, so and she had to clean the room. So she was really proud. Damn it, I have to clean my rooms.
I also have to say something. The commutes are very important, I think. So my kids go to a school that is 600 meters from my house, and they walk to school and come back. This is very important. And then also raising them to be independent, meaning I'm not their entertainer, and I never was their entertainer, and they also don't get a screen to entertain them. They have pencils, and they have paper, and they have their games, and they just learn how to be with themselves. And that's, for me, like I realize now my kids are 7 and 10. They really, we come home together and they don't need me for hours. And also they don't need a screen, which I think is important. Of course it changes when they have schooling to do. But yeah, so that for me was the most practical, the two most practical things.
And I mean, I'm also learning already, or using years of research. For me, because I'm 47 now, like how to use TikTok, how to use Instagram, which programs, so that's a lot of things I learned.
I think the most
Connect
important,
you to the present.
Yeah.
Most important part I learned personally was like during COVID was like don't try to work while you're entertaining a 3-year-old. So because you don't get shit done anyway, and you're just frustrated in the end. So just split the day up, and have some like dedicated time to work and dedicated time with your kid, and don't try to do calls on the playground, because it's just like
no point.
It's
frustrating for all
For
involved.
everyone involved.
I know.
We have the same thing. And my business partner in COVID when the kindergarten was closed, so he and his wife always switch every day. That one day he can work and his wife will host the entertainer and the other way around.
Any other questions?
I'd say we still have like 4 more minutes, and I just want to make one last question to the group, because I think it's really important. I feel like we only touched on it a little bit. Have you seen any real-life best practices when it comes to things like having a child go with you on tour, putting a nanny or someone in your rider? Have you seen any real-life examples that could sort of inspire us for the end? And if not, what are the ideas that we should be putting forward?
I think some of the ideas you said before, that the backstage rooms, the hotel rooms, everything needs to be a little bit bigger, smoke-free, equipped, and babysitters would be great. We actually have great grandparents, so I seldom need that, but I think for many people this is a real issue. Also travel costs, so I think there should be some kind of, in Austria so many things are sponsored. I think there should be a sponsorship for the organizers of concerts, that they can get sponsored, like the extra money for childcare, travel costs and hotel room. That would be great, because then it wouldn't be on their backs and it wouldn't be a disadvantage for the musicians.
I mean, it only works until a certain point, because when the kids are in school, you can't take them. Right?
That's true.
So then you would actually need the money to have someone watch them.
Yeah, if you don't
staying
have
at home, or like not every kid is like, you can't take it along because you know it's really sensitive, or I don't know. But I mean, I've seen like Wir sind Helden, it's a German band. They have 2 kids, and they're both in the same band, or used to, and they took the kids along on a tour bus. So if you travel by bus, it's easier, but have to have a certain level already to be able to tour the tour bus. And
they were superstars.
Exactly, they were superstars already. So, but it works, but you need to have a certain level already.
I think these are good examples of how it's so nuanced, and there's not a one-size-fits-all for every situation, but that's exactly why the one-size-fits-all could literally just be money, and you figure out what to do with it to that capacity.
Money is always good.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw this once when in West Breaker West, they invite this delegate and offer
Yeah. Great. Great.
So this is the only time I.
Are they part of they're part of Key Change or? Oh no.
No, it wasn't
Okay.
Change. It was just an invitation, and it was in the email. So it wasn't like I wasn't asked personally to do that. It was just in the writer of the festival. And this is also important that you don't feel it's a personal issue.
Yes.
If you're a parent, it's like something that's given and it's used or not.
Yes.
Music
So
Austria
true.
did that as well.
Which one?
Music Austria asked me also a couple of things.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
I wasn't part of that. Great. Cool. Okay. We're going to have to round it up. Thank you so much. So again, tomorrow there is a workshop if you want to talk more about this and get some actual information, because I just did blah, blah, but there will really be some concrete information and tools at this workshop tomorrow, so I hope to see you there. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.